today you're supposed to apologize to every naked savage anywhere on the globe because you are more prosperous, because you've earned your money. You have to feel guilty and apologize for it, while he hasn't and doesn't intend to learn from you. He just wants your money. We're taught. Why are we being taught? Because the ruling philosopher today in Harvard and everywhere else is Immanuel Kant. And that's the real villain of our age. It's not Karl Marx.
You mean he's the one, huh?
He is the one.
Kant is the one. Okay.
It's not Karl Marx, and it's not even religion. So I do not approve of religion, as you know. But those are not the villains. The villains is Immanuel Kant, who preached that man's mind is not valid, that the things you perceive are not there. They're not real. Things in themselves, as he preached, are something which exists in another dimension. Your world is only phenomenal, as he called it, and then there is this noumenal world, which you cannot perceive in any way whatever. And that noumenal world is the true reality. Only you can't perceive it, so you better live here on earth and do your duty. And your duty is some kind of voice that comes from these other dimensions, which you can't know. Well, how does he know? He doesn't tell you, but he tells you that morally you have to do your duty. What does your duty consist of? Of doing things in which you can take no possible interest and no advantage to yourself. You know that he is even worse than an altruist. An altruist would tell you, you shouldn't be happy, but you should sacrifice for other people, and then you're moral. Kant goes beyond it. He says, if you do things because you have any goal, whatever, even the welfare of others, your action is not moral. Or as he puts it, it has no moral significance. To be truly moral, you should do things out of which you get nothing whatever, neither for yourself nor for others. You can achieve that kind of being total zero offered for being eaten by any cannibal, then you're moral. Now that's the philosopher who rules today's life. If that is what the universities are preaching, Kant himself and all the endless variations of him and the derivatives from him, all modern philosophy are little illegitimate Kantians, if you know what I mean. If that's what children are taught, once they leave college, what do they bring to life? What you see today. We're kind of reaching the visible climax of Kantianism. They take dope, they try to kill their mind in every way possible. They leave range of the moment, they have no values, no goals, and no selfishness. Well, they're terribly unselfish because I haven't got one independent idea in the world.
The philosophies of the Western world.
All right.
Hey!
That was Ayn Rand. This is a philosophy professor at Georgia State University.
That I am.
Perimeter College, Jennifer Burgis.
Dunwoody campus.
And
I hope that comment about the sad, sad woman, that's not supposed to be me.
I'm pretty sure that was about Ayn Rand.
Okay.
So you seem pretty happy. This is going to be a new feature. Going to do this during the last 20, 30 minutes of the show before we go to the post game. As yet unnamed philosophy segment, taking suggestions.
I thought it was super awesome, amazing, something. Hi, Silver.
Silver Harlow says, "Oh look, it's Dr. Burgess and her husband," which is one accurate way to put it. So
that's my favorite way to put it.
Ayn Rand really, really dislikes Kant. Kant is the villain.
He's a devil.
Yes.
I can see why somebody could believe that Kant is the devil, but this whole noumenal, phenomenal thing, I don't really see it there so much.
Yeah, that is a very odd thing for her to focus on.
Yeah.
Also, I've got to say, at the risk of being nitpicky, but we are doing the philosophy segment, we could be a little nitpicky, is that I don't
Nitpicking, that's what keeps me employed.
exactly get that sweet tenure track job. So your adjunct / podcaster,
That loser husband of mine.
can have health insurance. So,
Exactly.
So I don't believe, I understand, now I'm not a Kant scholar, but I do not believe that Kant thought that the noumena, the things themselves, were in a different dimension.
No, I don't remember any of that either.
Yeah.
Also not a Kant scholar, but
Yeah,
I don't remember him talking about dimensions.
I'm pretty sure that's wrong. In fact, I'm 100% sure that's wrong. So the point is the noumena are things as they are themselves, and phenomena are things as they seem to us, and that we can only have knowledge of things as they seem to us. And so there's a certain respect in which if that things in themselves they're not in a different dimension. It's just that we can only know them insofar as they appear to us.
Yeah, which is not really a crazy idea when you start thinking about it. When I bring this up in intro classes, there's usually some that's true.
Yeah. But also, fun fact about Kant, he did not think that this meant that we can't know anything. And in particular, he certainly didn't think that we can't know anything about morality.
Yeah, that was a whole different business.
Yeah, Kant's view is that so there's theoretical reason, which is when you're trying to figure out the contents of empirical reality. That's where the whole noumena phenomena thing comes up. But then there's practical reason, which involves both, prudential reasoning, what Kant calls hypothetical imperatives, when you're trying to figure out what you should do in order to rationally advance different goals that you might have, and also categorical imperatives, or actually just the categorical imperative, there only being the one. People who are later listening to this as a podcast and see Jenn holding up one finger,
What?
But yes, if Kant had said you can't know anything about morality, he certainly would have been talking to Ayn Rand. But she can't know anything about morality, or certainly doesn't seem to. But Kant's position is that we actually can use our reason to figure out the requirements of morality. In fact,
reason.
Yes.
That reason. We have our reason for a reason.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean,
this is the wit that my students come for every day.
So
no Kant jokes. We're not going to get. Oh boy, there we go.
Yeah, the chat is already full of Kant jokes, of course. There's a webcomic called Existential Comics, where it's a philosophy-themed webcomic, and they've got a little thing at the top, where it's like it rolls through. It's like number of days since last Kant pun. But yeah, I mean, Kant thinks that morality just is an extension of rationality. That's his view. That if you thought about it enough, you would realize that this is the only, in his view, this is the only internally consistent law you can give yourself. That you're acting freely if you're acting a law that you give yourself. That sounds like something Ayn Rand might sign off on. But the difference is that he thinks there's only one law you could rationally give yourself, which is the categorical imperative. So Kant's position on this, we just heard Ayn Rand describe it in her diatribe about, the naked savages who we're supposed to give everything to.
I don't think you can say that anymore. Can you?
I mean,
I think that's politically incorrect now.
sure. I mean, I'm sure in 1970, whatever, she gave that interview, lots of people found it objectionable then too.
Did they? Did they find things like that objectionable back then?
Some people did, I'm pretty sure. I mean, like the American Indian movement was a big thing in the 1970s. I'm pretty sure that nobody who was involved in AIM was very happy to hear Ayn Rand, rant about the naked savages.
Sure.
But we just heard Ayn Rand say that Kant's view is that it's immoral to do anything that benefits you. Is that actually Kant's view?
No.
Okay, well,
No, it is not.
This is why I brought in the fancy tenure track philosophy professor to set me straight on this thing. So let's hear it.
No, he does not think that. He doesn't think about benefits at all, actually.
Yeah.
All he's concerned about is doing the rational thing, following the rules. This is why it's called deontology. It's about your duty. This is not a consequence-focused theory of morality.
Yeah, but that does, it's not a consequence-focused theory of morality. Like the good or bad consequences of something aren't what makes it right or wrong for Kant. But that doesn't mean that it's bad to do things that benefit you. In fact, that would be a consequence-based view of morality if it was bad to do things.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And Kant talks in his groundwork for the metaphysics of morals, which is the basic text that we give intro students or intro to ethics students to read. He says explicitly that we should help our fellow man when we can.
Yeah, so he has this view. There are perfect duties, which are things that you have to do all the time, no matter what.
A duty to not kill people.
Yeah,
that is a perfect duty. You must follow it at all times.
Even when you're asleep, you should not be murdering.
You should not.
You should be, getting up, making your coffee. Don't murder anybody while you do that. Read the newspaper. No murdering during that. You go to work, still no murdering.
And it doesn't matter who you see. You can't murder this guy, this woman. You cannot murder anyone along the way.
Yes.
Oh, Joe, what are you doing to me?
Joe says he doesn't care about the consequences. David Russell says she can't see the point. Yeah, so you have a perfect duty not to murder because you're supposed to be just not murdering 24/7.
Exactly.
But you have imperfect duties, which are things that that it would be wrong. It would violate the categorical imperative if you never did them.
You have to do them sometimes.
But you don't have to do them
all the time, constantly.
And it's not, there's a particular, you're doing wrong if you don't do it at this particular moment,
it's up to you to pick and choose. You can help this homeless person. You don't have to help every homeless person, but you got to help some homeless.
Yes, if you just
the idea.
Step over homeless people all the time and never once do anything to help, then maybe you're violating the categorical imperative because he says you have an imperfect duty of benevolence to help your fellow man when you can.
So because it's a duty, it's something that you have to do.
Yeah. So Kant's view, the categorical imperative, there are a few different formulations, but one of them is the formula of humanity, says never treat humanity, whether in your own person or that of another. Key phrase for the difference between what Ayn Rand says Kant's view is and what Kant's view actually is. Whether in your person or that of another, you can never treat as merely a means to an end. Always has to be an end in itself. Mandatory for a Kant discussion. Got to do 30 seconds on this. Why is the merely important?
Because you can, in fact, treat someone as a means as long as you are also treating them as an end in themselves.
Yeah, if you ask your friend for a ride to the airport, you aren't violating the categorical imperative.
You are not.
That's fine. if you stick a gun to their head and demand that they give you a ride to the
That's
airport,
bad.
then you are, because
You have a perfect duty to not stick a gun to your friend's head and demand a ride to the airport.
yeah, because that would be treating them merely as a means to an end. In other words, as if they didn't matter.
Yeah.
That all their only significance was as a way of achieving your ends. That's what you're not supposed to do. And in the book that Jen mentioned earlier, which, by the way, I used to quote this in syllabi because he has a line in there about how basically he says, look, I could make this simpler, but then it wouldn't be real philosophy. It would just be idle coffeehouse chatter.
Only you would put a Kant quote in your syllabus.
So I was like putting, look, there are a lot of hard readings in this class, but do you want philosophy or do you want idle coffeehouse chatter? Come on. In that book, he gives a few different examples of things that people could do to violate the categorical imperative. In fact, he gives 4 examples of that. And this idea that Ayn Rand often has that, well, her view is that you should devote yourself to your own flourishing, and everybody else, the Kantians, the utilitarians, everybody.
It's all about me.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
But she thinks everybody else, the Kantians, the utilitarians, all those devils are all those villains are.
Wait, they're all devils?
I think. Well, Kant is the devil,
Right.
but
Is Mill also a devil?
well, I don't know if he's a devil, but I think she thinks he's very bad.
He's a lesser demon?
Maybe a lesser demon, yeah. That she thinks that all these other philosophies are saying that you should just deny yourself and only do things to help others and not tend to your own flourishing at all. And if you have this dichotomy, then her view starts to sound less sociopathic and ridiculous and more like, oh, okay, well, that sounds better than just like, having to be 100% self-sacrificing all the time. But these 4, utilitarians don't think that you should never do things for yourself. I mean, you should. I mean, if that's what's going to lead to more happiness existing in the world.
We've been going over this in my intro to ethics class today, actually.
Yes.
About how the utiles you maximize might be your own.
Right, exactly. And Kant, in the groundwork of the metaphysics of morals, he gives 4 examples of things that people could do that would violate the categorical imperative, and 2 of them are violations of duties to yourself. One of them is a man who's considering killing himself because he no longer finds satisfaction in life, which Kant thinks violates your duty to preserve your own life.
His reasoning is a little, it's something. He really goes wrong there with some definitions and some reasoning, but that's not the point. That is neither here nor there right now. But the point he makes is that, no, you cannot do this. Yeah, and that's, again, it's a violation of duty to yourself. That would be an example of not treating humanity in your own person as an end in itself, according to Kant. I think even a lot of people who like lots of aspects of Kant's philosophy today think that maybe he, his view on, euthanasia, assisted suicide, there are tons of criticisms you could make there. But the point is, this is one of his 4 examples. So clearly he thinks that you should, in fact. That's not really what we're here to do, is criticize his examples, although I did have to throw that out. But the idea is to show that, yes, this is a thing that he argues for. Yeah. Hey, J. Andrew. Another one of his examples is a man who doesn't develop his own talents, which Kant also thinks violates the categorical imperative, because if you're just, being driven around by desires, you're not promoting your own excellence, you're not developing your talents, then you're not treating humanity in your own person as an end in itself. And I think that's really where the difference between Rand's caricature of Kant and what Kant thinks gets very, very clear.
I think that obviously any version of libertarianism, which is actually not a word Rand likes, but I mean, that's approximately her view, is something I deeply disagree with. I think the less zany libertarian philosophers, some of them have much more positive views of Kant.
The word zany does not come up too much in discussions of Kant. I've done this so many times in class, and no one has ever used the word zany.
Yeah.
Well,
Blue Goop
that's
says,
the problem.
Blue Goop asks, what if my best talent is laziness, though? That would be, earlier we watched a PragerU video where people go back in time to ask Ronald Reagan questions about the Cold War. If you could go back in time and do some Q&A with Kant, that would be one to put on the list there. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I have to say, like I said, you're the fancy tenure track, professor.
I'm the one with the job.
Yeah. I'm the layabout shiftless podcaster, Jacobin columnist, adjunct professor. But so I will defer to you if you have a different take on this. You know better. But I kind of, I don't know. I mean, I've got to say, I came out of this liking Kant better than Ayn Rand.
Wait, liking Kant better than Ayn Rand does, or liking Kant better than you like Ayn Rand? Ayn Rand.
Both.
Both.
I mean, I meant the second one, but yeah, both.
Okay.
Yes, my view is Kant greater than symbol Ayn Rand.
All right.